Alex here with a video on, what did I call it? Take Care of Maya. I guess I'll call this one the aftermath because the civil case is over. So if you haven't seen my first video on Take Care of Maya, definitely take a look at it because I took a very strong opinion in, or even position, you call it a position. I took a position agreeing with and in favor of the family. I agreed with the family, and I disagreed with the Department of Child and Family Services slash CPS. Some people call it CPS. There were a few people in the comments who did not agree with me. Most of the people did agree with me, but for those few people that actually thought that the mom was abusive, and that the John Hopkins Hospital was doing the right thing, and that the CPS was trying to save the kids, I regret to inform you that the jury disagrees. So the jury sided with the family as well. The mom's suicide after abuse accusations and the heartbreaking story was believable. Not only did the jury agree with Maya and her family, they imposed a gigantic punitive damage award. So the total damages are $261 million, $50 million of which are punitive damages. And the jury's verdict articulates quite clearly that they believe that the John Hopkins All Children's Hospital in St. Petersburg falsely imprisoned and battered Maya. So not only were they not protecting the child, they had committed a battery upon her and falsely imprisoned her for 87 days. And that is something that they're going to have to pay for. And it's going to be a lot of money that they have to pay. This is probably going to be read by a lot of the other hospitals. Hopefully, the other CPS agencies throughout the country read about this. The misconduct that was committed both by the government and the hospital was so egregious as to warrant an enormous award. So the $261 million in this particular situation will most likely be recoverable because the defendants have deep pockets, both the Department of Child and Family Services, which is an arm of the government, and John Hopkins Hospital. So most likely, I would imagine that unless an appeal is filed or something like that, that they're going to end up getting hundreds of millions of dollars for the loss of their mother. Well, the mom, Maya's mom, which is the wife of the husband, who was also a part of the case. So, yeah. I mean, one of the lines, I guess I could open this up for you guys, show you what I've been reading. There's a lot of articles out there on this. I recommend you guys take a look at the articles. There's probably some YouTube videos out on it too. But this line quite succinctly states that the hospital failed to protect Maya from, quote, inside abusers, unquote. That the abusers were not in the family, but rather in the hospital and within the agency of CPS itself. Which, as I described in my first video, is something that I, with my own eyes, witnessed. I explained how, after I watched the Netflix, you guys should watch that too if you haven't seen it, now that you know the outcome especially. After I watched the Take Care of Maya Netflix video, there were a few specific things that were mentioned in that video that I remember happening when I was a CASA, where basically CPS would tell the judge only the specific things that they want to lead the judge to the conclusion that they want him to reach, and that they would withhold all of the other information. So they wouldn't really lie to the court, they would just leave things out. So if CPS wanted the court to come to conclusion A, and facts B, C, and D would likely lead the court to come to that conclusion, but facts E, X, and Z would not, then they would only tell the court, B, C, and D, and they would leave out all of the other things. They just would not talk about those things. And so the court would get a presentation that was engineered to lead the court to the conclusion that CPS wanted the court to reach. So when I saw that in the video, I called that out in my video. I was like, guys, I've seen this before. This is what they do. Now, not all of the CPS, what do they call them? Agents? I think they call them agents. Not all of the CPS agents were the same. I interacted with 3 of them when I was in CASA. Only one of them acted that way. But when you combine that one bad actor, malfactor, with a weak judge, that's where all of the damage starts to come, because those three agents were split over two different judges. There was the first judge that I had, and then the second judge that I had. And CPS agent number two, which in my opinion was the malfactor, actually straddled both judges. And so when CPS agent number two was under the control of judge number one, the first judge, her efforts to inflict damage on the children were mitigated by the judge recognizing that she was out overstepping or that she was wrong and overruling her. But once Judge B took over, the second judge, that judge was a lot weaker than the first judge. And whatever the CPS agent asked for, the CPS agent got. So as I mentioned in my first video, when you have a weak judge and a malevolent CPS agent, it creates the perfect storm of subjecting the children to torturous conditions. That was why I came out with the opinion that I came out with, and I was actually quite surprised to see some people disagree with me in the comments. But this particular outcome with this jury is vindicating not only for me but for the family as well. These cases are not easy cases. I mean, I'm covering one of the cases right now on our Nevada Judges channel, which is a civil case suing CPS. And the thing that's coming up in that case, which likely comes up in a lot of these cases, is there's a lot of things that the parents don't know that they appear to waive. They appear to just give in. And that's because the stakes are so high. You have a situation where somebody's about to lose their kids. It's very easy to coerce that person into making mistakes that are damaging to a lawsuit that may arise months or years later. And what I'm seeing, not only in the case that I'm covering with O&J, but also in some of the other cases that I looked at, is that the big weakness that these cases have is the things that were going on with the parents that were both factually a problem, like not protecting the kids because you're afraid of the other parent, or you have more loyalty to the family than you do to the child's welfare. Those are big issues that come up a lot, but also the legal issues, like allowing searches to occur, giving interviews, and those end up just being used against you as a sort of silver bullet in whatever civil lawsuit arises later on. It's like, look, not only was this person not protecting the child in a way that most people wouldn't protect their child because they're afraid of their own family more than they're afraid of the government, but look, they also waive this right and waive this right and waive this right and let us look at the car and let us go in the house and let us watch the video, and now we have all this other evidence we wouldn't ordinarily have because we didn't have a warrant. And so there's also these legal weaknesses. So these cases have so many weaknesses from so many different angles, and so to see one of them come out the way that this case came out is remarkable. It's not like, oh yeah, well, this could happen. You could sue CPS 10 times and you'll get this outcome 9 out of 10 times. My opinion is that it would be the opposite. Sue CPS 10 times and you would get this outcome 1 out of 10 times, maybe even less, maybe even 1 out of 20 times. So this is a remarkable outcome. It makes a lot of sense why Netflix covered the story. They probably had a lot of background information. Here's a picture of the family. I'll go ahead and pull this up. They probably had a lot of background information. They probably, had sort of a vibe that this was going to turn out this way. I doubt they just randomly chose this family. They probably looked into a whole lot of details, and it probably sounded real fishy. And so they decided, not just Netflix, but the producer and all the other, people behind the story probably decided that this was one of those rare cases where this was going to uncover malfeasance, not only by the government, but by the hospital as well. So if my hunch is correct, which, I mean, there's a lot of money that goes into producing stuff like this, I doubt that they would just put very little effort into researching it before choosing this particular case. Here's another picture, guys. I think I scrolled through it already. This is an amazing outcome for the family, for I think the public, because it's eye-opening. It's just, guys, this is a case that you should really look into from beginning to end. Go through Netflix, go through the YouTube stuff, go through the articles, go through the jury verdict, go through everything. And if you have any questions or comments, this would be the video to post them. I'd like to take a look at those questions and comments. I maybe even will be willing to do a follow-up depending on what you guys have to say. So yeah, that's all I have for you guys for today. I will see you guys next time.